Hello there and welcome finally to my brand new Sandbox series. Welcome to Yosemite Valley Zoo. That's the setting we are in, and you can see there's a bit of painting going on in the background. So before I talk a lot about this project and what this is, here's a little quick, let's say, heads up. This is Yosemite Valley Zoo, which is obviously located in the Californian area of Yosemite Park, as you know, in my fictional idea. And there's a whole lot of terraforming going on in the background. So I am doing in this episode a whole bunch of preparation and also an entrance building in the end. There are, spoiler alert, no animals in this episode, so please hopefully stay with me because there's still a lot more to come in the future, and especially tomorrow, which will be absolutely insane. I can tell you, tomorrow's episode will be mind-blowing because it blew my mind. The game did something I never expected to happen, but it eventually did happen. So very, very cool, and I can't wait to share that with you. However, we are in today's episode, and this is nevertheless very, very cool and very important because we need to do the preparation before we can head into the zoo. Now, let me actually give you already the idea what this whole zoo and project is about. So first of all, for those of you who are always asking, yes, this is aimed a bit more towards realism than my usual stuff in terms of Plant Zoo, what I did till now, but it won't be like super realistic. It won't be Isanapali kind of hyper-realism. It is somewhere in between. I still want to leave me a back door that allows me every now and then, especially what you will see tomorrow, to go a bit beyond what a real zoo would actually do in real life. Not saying it will never be possible, but you know, there are some constraints and stuff that wouldn't be working. Anyways, you can see already in the background there was a huge cut happening, and I'm copying around my mountain now. I'm so glad we have the option finally to copy habitat. So what I did here, as a little explanation, I created one mountain I was pretty happy with. I copied this over by putting it within a habitat, because you can only copy terrain if it is within a habitat. So I basically created an invisible fence and copied the mountain around, only to then start altering the different versions, because it would be pretty obviously boring and pretty dull to always use the same one. I have to say I'm fairly happy with the terraforming in the end, but there's still a lot more to do. Now, let me give you the background of the story. There's a whole bunch of stuff I did in regard of research before I started this episode or this whole series. So for once, I wanted to have this time something that works a bit better with the Planet franchise biomes. And now to explain this a little bit better, when I was doing my Isanapali series on Planet Coaster, I located my park on an island, and my idea was to create that island on an ocean. The problem about this is there is no such a thing than an ocean biome where you basically only have a fully flat area of water. So that meant in the end I needed to create some kind of skybox, which didn't work out, and it looks pretty odd because this is like a floating island in the middle of nowhere, and then you have the weird mountains around it. So you have to imagine as if I would take this area over here, dig like a huge ass lake and put an island on the lake. That's basically how I did this. So even though I loved the series, in terms of realism, it never turned out to be exactly what I wanted, because I was always hoping for an ocean biome, which eventually never came. So I thought, okay, this time I need something that is a lot more realistic and doesn't break the immersion. So I was thinking about a few things beforehand. I was thinking about like a realism city zoo. A problem about a city zoo obviously is that you would have to build a whole bunch of buildings to have a background, and this would cost a lot of performance because I would need all the buildings and pieces to create the background. Now I did want to avoid this obviously to maintain a certain amount of performance, because as you know me, I will definitely use a whole bunch of pieces and quite a lot of foliage, so we do need every single piece that we can save in advance. And yeah, that was already the basic background story why I decided to go with a lot of terraforming instead, and I figured it would be cool to have some kind of valley. Now, explanation done. I had some ideas already about, let's say habitat ideas. I had some cool ideas about various habitats, and I was thinking in which location in the world this would fit into, and I figured California as a state in the US would make sense for my ideas. It might not be suitable for all of them, but for most of them it would be suitable. And the moment I had California in my head, I was pretty sure that I wanted to, just just build something that is related to the valley and the Yosemite Park, because I simply love the nature around there. The fact, I would say I have never been there, but in fact I have been there. The only problem is I have been at the age of 13 months. So, you know, my memory is not that well. Let's put it that way. Honestly, I can't remember shit. So it's a bit of a thing. I actually had a lot of photos that my dad showed me recently from when we've been there, and there was a special thing in particular that I liked so much that I was like, okay, this could be the thing that I'm building this off. And this was basically a photo of one of the valleys in there in the Yosemite National Park, and I was like, hey, this is kind of cool, let's go for this kind of valley idea. And so this is how the whole thing ended up being. It is pretty cool. I really love the fact that this is part of my YouTube stuff now, and I will definitely want to go there again in the future. And one thing I have to say though, the mountains I created until now in this episode, they will be more or less placeholders. Even though I'm pretty happy with how they turned out, I figured a few problems I have with them. Mainly problems that are related to the way Planet Zoo tackles the lots. For those of you who don't know, lots is level of detail, and the closer you are, the better the lots are. Usually you do have items in the game. They have, if I remember correctly, 6 different versions of lots, whereas the first version is like very poor. It's like a very low poly model, which you only need when you're pretty far away. You can't even see what it is in detail anyways. And there is the number 6, like the highest lot. This is the one that is up very close. If you go even to look at the tiniest of details, this one is shown to you. This is done in computer business anyways to save performance. And since mountains and stuff work a little bit different, they are kind of working on some kind of a grid shape, and the grid works, the further you're away, the less poly heavy the grid becomes. So all the little nits and bits you build in the terrain kind of merge together the further you go away, and this creates some weird looking shapes to the mountains when you go a little bit too much on detail. So that was something I was having several issues with. So I'm not saying that the issues are very bad, but I kind of want to make the mountains more detailed than they should be, in terms of, because if you go far away, you don't even see the details. So it would be better to build those mountains a bit more focused on the distant view, because you never go up close them anyways. You will always see them from a distance. So I will definitely go in and change the details a little bit in the future to make sure that, actually being in the park looks better than being close up. So if you see, for example, the mountains, as you can see now to the top right, in the far distance, they are only containing of a texture, and they basically have absolutely like the tiniest of detail in them anyways. In fact, even some kind of crests or like the depth information you see there is only a texture. So it's like a very simple mountain, and the rest is done with texture and painting on them. So I wanted to create something similar here by using the texture, and this is the next little bit of criticism here. It's not that big of a criticism anyways, because I do in fact know why this is kind of a design choice you have to make anyways. But the texture in this game is pretty repetitive the more you go on larger scale, which is absolutely understandable, because you design some kind of textures for different purposes. And in a zoo game where you are most likely using different different types of texture all the time to suit your animals, you blend them into each other anyways, and so you look at them from very up close when the animals move over it, and so the detail has to be when you're close to the terrain. If you go further away, usually you wouldn't use the same texture on very large plains, which I did here with the mountains, and this creates this kind of weird, very kind of repetitive pattern on the mountains, and I wanted to try to get rid of them by using a lot of different textures blending into each other. So quite a few things I had to struggle with. So this episode contains of material that is over 8 hours of playing the game, so it was quite a struggle, I have to say. I cut most of it out, so I think the actual footage used in this speed build is only 2.5 hours, and the rest is basically cut. So at the beginning there was a whole bunch of time cut out with the mountain. I had several iterations of the first mountain, and also I needed to figure out how to get the snow on the peaks, and this is how I did it. I put a transformer or a transformator or a generator or however this freaking energy thing is called. I put this in the middle here, and I needed to make sure that it is powered. So I hide this generator in there, and then I put a whole bunch of coolers there. And yes, I used a lot more foliage to, make a little bit of a detail here. Yeah, you can see I also in the meantime built a bit of a parking lot area. We won't tackle this too much in this episode. And I figure this is exactly the point where we talk about my planning for the future, guys. This will be a highly interactive series. So I really hope that you guys come and give me a whole bunch of comments already in this episode about how you like the entrance, if you like the setting, what do you think about the name, what do you think about this entire series and which kind of animals you want to see, what is your favorite kind of building style. Are you more the kind of realism guy, or are you trying to do the most crazy things in the game possible? Let me know in the comments down below what type of gamer you are for the game. Are you more casual, building related, whatever? And also, again, I will have a lot of questions going on all the time. So for those of you who do know Isla Pali, they know that I ran this whole system like really a kind of company thing, where I am more likely like the CEO of the company, but I can't decide everything on my own. I do have a company behind me that I have to get agreements with, and the company can always come back to me and say, hey, you know what, your latest decision we don't really approve because XYZ. You know, that's kind of the idea I want to translate into this series as well. So you guys out there, you are my company, you are my holding, you are the ones that give me the approval of what I'm doing in here. And this is how I would love you to act also in the comments. It was a pretty funny story always in Isla Pali when people came up with, hey, you know what, I'm here for the security in your park, and I figured that there is 2 less security cameras. Please make sure that you finish, fix this issue by the next 2 episodes, or you will have several punishment. Kind of a little bit of a story. I love this because this kind of little story approach, it adds so much to the whole thing, and it makes a lot of fun. And I'm reading out the comments, and then people recognize themselves commenting this, and I love this. This is kind of thing I want to do. Now, I really hope it doesn't work without you guys out there. I can reinforce this all the time, but you guys are needed. You guys need to pop down into the comment section and start being creative with your comments and funny or whatever. Just let your creativity flow and do it. Now, talking about creativity, this is what I came up with an entrance design. This is heavily influenced by a hotel that is in the Yosemite Park itself. So I've been in this hotel, I was told. I have again, as I said, I have no memory, but I've been told that I've been in exactly this hotel, which is, if you type in Yosemite Valley Hotel building, you will find this immediately. I forgot the name right now. If I remember, I'll put a link down below in the description to this hotel, and you can just watch the images, and you will definitely see some influences that went in here. Now, let me just tell you how my plan is in terms of how I want to shape this series. So, again, I said already, there are no animals in this episode, which is down to the fact that, if I would have animals in this, it would be even longer, and I basically have the whole series done in one episode. No, I'm just kidding, but I want to have some kind of balance between one episode being focused on building and detailing, and one episode focused on new animals. I have to admit that maybe this was one of my biggest mistakes I made with Isla Pali. With every series, with every project you have on YouTube, you should, in the best case, always learn something from it. And I learned a lot about this in Isla Pali. I learned that the interaction with you guys is very, very valuable. It's very, very amazing. But also, on the other hand side, going for hyper-realism can also lead into a boring experience for you guys at a certain point in time when you try to be too much into one area, and you have no process available for the people watching. Yes, I kind of dig deep into this area of making it all super realistic and going into the smallest of details. But as a viewer, and I kind of get this, as a viewer, it is very, very heavy and very, you're losing your patience when you're always seeing the same area in like 10 episodes. So that's why I thought it would be a good idea to keep the balance by having one episode focused on building again, and one on the animals. So every second episode you can expect a new animal added to the zoo, or at least a bigger change of one existing animals, because we can only have so many animals in this zoo anyways. But I want to make sure that there is always something new for you guys to discover. So I was thinking, because 2 episodes a week week is something realistically feasible for me. I can do this also with my everyday job, also after the initial hype, also after the Christmas days. I will potentially be able, sometimes I might just scrap one episode, but 2 episodes a week is pretty much doable for me, and I think it's a fair balance if we keep to the days, which I still have to decide which kind of days there. Oh, that's a good point. Which 2 days in the week would be most suitable for you guys for this series? That would be pretty nice to know. So which are the days you would love to see this series running? Because I could potentially adjust this to these days anyway, so that would be cool to know. Let me know in the comments down below which are your most favorite days to watch YouTube content, so maybe I can just somehow match these requests of yours and my schedule in this kind of sense, because I want to get into a schedule eventually. It makes things easier for all of us. But yeah, are you agreeing with this kind of idea? Do you think this is something feasible? Because anyways, you know, if I would put animals in here every time a new animal, we had a max of 76 episodes, because that's the amount of animals that go into the game. And to be honest, I think it would be pretty much cash grab to make an episode solely on one exhibit animal. I don't know, but that would be, I don't know, would be something I don't feel well with. You know, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. Anyways, don't feel so well. Oh god, I forgot how he exactly said that. Never mind. Now, there's one thing you guys might be, or some of you at least, might be a bit picky about, or what you're missing, and this might be the logo contest, because this series over here is also a community project, as I said, and I asked you guys a week ago if you can do a logo for me, and I asked you guys, and first of all, I have to say the amount of people that participated is insane. I was super happy with it. And today is Wednesday for me recording this episode. The deadline runs out, so tomorrow I will be able to show you those wonderful logos. What I will do, I will choose 5 logos that I feel most comfortable with, and then I will definitely put them on my YouTube community wall as a picture, and followed right after a poll that asks for the favorites, and then you guys can vote on my YouTube channel for the best logo. And the winner, as I said, the winner is getting a 2-month sub on my Twitch channel. There you can be happy and use all the emotes and stuff like that, and also is going to be in here as a special contributor to this wonderful zoo, and I will incorporate you, the name of you, in the entrance building, and hopefully in the future when we have a billboard option, this logo will also make its way into the park, because I figured some of the logos I already seen, if I would do them with the simple art shapes, which I thought about for a second, this would then take like 5 episodes, because I have to be that detailed, and it's not feasible to do at the moment. So I'm hoping for wonderful and lovely billboard options in the future. Okay, so this is a little reminder. Make sure to also check my community wall tomorrow. Well, actually, to be honest, because it's Thursday and the episode is in the evening, you guys potentially have already seen it. Never mind. Not too clever of mine, right? So maybe I will put this voting then out with the episode. So that makes sense, I guess. So maybe it's only live right now. I think that will make sense. So for the next episode, we will have the logo then as the intro. And this next episode will be already tomorrow, I tell you. And please, you need to tune in tomorrow. It's going to be insane. I barely ever say this, but I'm freaking proud of what I've done there. It was something really, really, really surprising that it worked out. So it was a stupid idea. I never actually planned to make this the finished version already of my idea in my mind. But for some odd reasons, it worked out so freaking amazingly from the first get-go. I just kept going. I just used my flow and created something very, very weird, but at the same time very special. And potentially you've seen already a teaser no, you haven't. No, you haven't seen one. I will put down a teaser tomorrow noon, and then in the evening it will drop on YouTube. So make sure to tune in for that, because it's going to be insane. Now, this is the end of the episode. I'm very sorry there's so much info in here, but it's the first episode. You always need to do it. Now, I will please you at the end of this episode with a few cinematics of this area, and I hope you enjoyed this first episode of the setting. I can only say welcome to YOSEMITE Valley Zoo. I hope you are going to enjoy this series. Let me know again in the comments down below. Let me know if you like it and what you think about the project, and then we're gonna meet each other tomorrow again in the next episode. Until then, have a great evening, and bye guys. Don't forget to vote though. Alrighty guys, thank you for watching this video, I really do appreciate that. As always, make sure to check out also my social media channels. You can find me everywhere under @Rudi Rennkamel. Also big thanks to the crew, you can see it on the left hand side right now. And as always, if you want to see more, you click that card on the top right. And if you want to stick around because you like the stuff you've just saw, whatever, you know what I mean, just click that sub button, which is to the bottom right of the screen right now. But everything else I can say is have a great time and see you next time. Bye guys.